just crossed over into the Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome in to our Week 6 edition of the Logan Zone here on 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3 WRHT. We thank you for tuning in. Philip Pilkington here along with Coach Steve Logan, and it sounds like we've already got the phones ringing. We are taking your calls today, and the best caller will get a Bojangles 8-piece tailgate at Bojangles. Football season is tailgate season, and again, this year Bojangles is proud to partner with ECU Athletics to celebrate Pirate football no matter where you are on game day. Pick up a Bojangles tailgate box with all the chicken fixins, buttermilk biscuits, fresh brewed tea hungry fans want. Remember this, Pirate Nation, when you want to set up your game day festivities, step up your game day festivities, it's bow time. And we are about to get to the caller now. I think Demetrius, our intern, who will be taking your calls all day long, is ready. And Coach Logan, who do we have on the phone there, Demetrius? Gene is on the phone with you, Gene is on the phone with you, Coach Logan.
All right. Well, that didn't take long. And normally we start off with a little bit of a thematic idea for the show, but we'll get to that. And as I've said before, we'll drop everything and take a call. So who we got on the line right now?
Gene.
Hey, yeah, this is Gene.
Hey, Gene. Yeah, You got it. What you got going, man?
Yeah, I really enjoy your show. I want to talk about NC State. I know, you say you like Coach Doran, and I do too. Seems like he wants to emphasize the running game to open up the passing game. But as accurate as C.J. Bailey is, can't you do the opposite? Let him throw and then run the ball?
Yes, you can, Gene. And, I've got a whole segment that I prepared for this show concerning, there's some rough waters ahead for North Carolina State University football. That loss to Virginia Tech. In every coach's journey, there will be a victory that can really propel your career, and then there are losses that can really derail your career. And I've been on, if you've coached, you've had both of those events. And just being very blunt, without being critical, but being very blunt, the loss to Virginia Tech this last week that North Carolina State experienced was not good at all. The whole look, you got Virginia Tech coming in. They had all kinds of chaos inside their program. They had an interim head coach. North Carolina State was a 10-point favorite. You got them at home. Everything was set for Coach Doran to, win that football game and be a 5-1 football team. And really the week before didn't help either. The week before the Duke loss, on paper, I felt like North Carolina State coulda, shoulda, woulda won that football game, but the turnover bug got to them. And this is kind of what has derailed them right now is the turnovers. And I've got, this show for today, what I put together was the numbers of each of the four teams that I kind of talk about all the time, which is Duke, UNC, North Carolina State, and East Carolina. The numbers. This time of the season, you're 4 or 5 games into your schedule, your third down conversions, your scoring averages, your defensive scoring average, your net punt, all of those kinds of numbers begin to build a profile of who and what your team is. And barring a giant interruption, your team will continue to produce the numbers you're producing right now. And the thing that's holding North Carolina State back right now is it's the turnover margin. They're just they're -2 in turnovers for the year. And when you've got a football team like North Carolina State has, and I'll describe it for you in Logan terms. North Carolina State's football team is good enough on offense and good enough on defense to win football games, but not while you're turning the ball over. You just can't be in the negative turnover category, which they are, and because the margins are so slim. They're not dominant in any part of the game, except for just what you mentioned, their passing game. C.J. Bailey is a way above average college quarterback. And North Carolina State is using him now the way that I would, which is he's your best player. Keep the ball in his hands as often as you can. Now, I said all of that to address your question. Is there a way, coaching has so many aspects to it, but if you're in charge of a football team, it's your job to accentuate your strengths and try to cover up and hide your weaknesses. All right. Well, the obvious strength for North Carolina State University is C.J. Bailey. And anybody that followed me in my career, and I'm not breaking my arm, pat myself on the back, it's just the way I went about my business. My business was to do things exactly the way that you suggested. I wanted to throw the football first and then run it second. Now, I want to clarify that. I had a football season at East Carolina in 1996. I believe we ended the year an 8-3 football team. We were very, very good. But my starting quarterback got injured in our third or fourth football game. His name was Mark Crandall. And I finished the year with a young man, the last 7 or 8 games of the year, I finished the year with a young man named Danny Gonzalez, who actually played a couple of years of professional football. I mean, Danny was a great quarterback, but he was inexperienced. He'd been sitting on the bench behind Mark Crandall, but he came in, and I believe Danny won 7 straight games for us or something, 6 games for us. He got beat. We lost a game at Virginia Tech that he started for me. But the point I'm making about that, what we really had, once Mark Crandall got hurt, I had Danny Gonzalez at quarterback who could throw the football, but he was inexperienced. But what we did have was an outstanding offensive line and a running back by the name of Scott Harley that actually led the nation in rushing that year. So all of a sudden, it became incumbent upon me as a play caller and a game plan designer. Hey, Steve, wake up. Let's hand the ball off. Let's run the football and do it well, and then accentuate our play-action passing game off of a really, really, really the strongest running game probably that East Carolina produced was that particular year in modern history. Now, you can go back to Pat Dye running the wishbone, and for crying out loud, they put up millions of yards rushing the football. But from, I would say, 1985 on, the 1996 year was a year where East Carolina, we were pounding the football and doing it with purpose. And so, your complaint, your question, your observation is entirely legitimate. And like I say, I've kind of gone through the segment that I was going to go through with the North Carolina State. I'll get more particular with it as we go through the program. But I agree with you. And, with the schedule that's coming up, listen to this. North Carolina State had a legit chance to be 6-0 headed to Notre Dame. But they goofed up the Duke game, and then they really screwed up the Virginia Tech game. All right, and I think Dave Dorn, he'd be the first to tell you that. So instead of being 5-0 or 6-0 or whatever those numbers would be, they're a 3-2 football team. They're a 4-2 football team, and getting ready to be because they're going to beat Campbell. And but instead of being 6-0, they're going to be 4-2 going to Notre Dame. But listen to this: you're at Notre Dame, you're at Pitt, you got Georgia Tech at home, at Miami, Florida State at home, and then you got a UNC football game. The only game I see North Carolina State being favored in down that stretch would be the North Carolina game at the end of the season. So it's going to be touch and go, and for the entire North Carolina State football staff, simply because Coach Dorn has done what some coaches choose to do. He's chosen to stay at North Carolina State for an extended period of time. And when you do that, ask Bill Belichick at the New England Patriots. Ask Barry Switzer at Oklahoma. Ask Bobby Bowden at Florida State. When you choose to stay, there comes a time where there has to be a hard conversation if you haven't produced an outstanding season or a championship. And as you know, North Carolina State last year was a 7-6 football team with a kind of a 6-6. I don't know what they were, but they had a catastrophic loss to East Carolina to end the season last year that put a bitter taste in everybody at North Carolina State's mouth, and it's lingering. And so there's my answer. Okay? All right, we got another caller, and let's get to it. Who we got, Philip?
Jim.
Jim, you're on the line. What you got, man?
Hey, Coach, I want to know, how do you manage or counsel a quarterback that has a tendency to force passes instead of checking down, especially across the middle when a guy's double covered or the defensive backs in a zone is converging in on the receiver? Thanks.
Well, that's a good question, but I wish you hadn't have hung up, so I would have asked you a couple of questions. You know, the development of a quarterback, if you have a quarterback that's doing what you just described, and he is a first-year player, this is somewhat normal, and it's part of the growth process that you have to simply live through, continue to coach the young man, continue with the film study, and hopefully the experience begins to kick in to where he can, discern. That's the word I used with the quarterbacks all the time, is discernment. You have to have discernment when and when not to. Let me, you're touching on something that, all quarterback coaches have dealt with, but concerning the discernment, okay, when and when not to. You asked me, how do you coach a quarterback to quit throwing it into double coverage or quit being reckless with the football? There were a couple of events, for instance, okay, and here's the other thing too. All fan bases live in your own bubble, and you think what's happening to you doesn't happen to anybody else. And if you would pull your head up out of your own little bubble, whether you're in the North Carolina State bubble or the Clemson bubble or whatever the case may be, and take a look around, the stuff that you think is only happening to you happens to everybody. It does. It happens to everybody. And, I just mentioned that to just, get back to what you asked me. How do you coach a quarterback out of forcing a ball into double coverage? Well, North Carolina State won a football game against Virginia just 3 weeks ago. Virginia, with a veteran quarterback, had the ball first and goal at the 5-yard line with about 20 seconds left in the game, needing a touchdown to win. First and goal with 20, 30, 40 seconds, something like, plenty of time. 3 timeouts in their pocket, I believe. And a veteran quarterback, and he's really good. And on first down, the Virginia quarterback rolled to his right and forced a pass that North Carolina State intercepted to secure the victory. On first down. Okay, well, let's go all the way back to the question. Hey, Logan, how do you get these guys to quit doing that? Well, first of all, you have to have repeated episodes that you can draw upon to coach. Let's go all the way back to the quarterback that I mentioned, Danny Gonzalez. who was playing the last 7 games of his senior year for me with very little experience, but he had a hell of a football team around him. And I mentioned to you that we got beat at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was a hell of a football team, but it was at night at Virginia Tech. I believe it was 40 below zero. I'll never forget it. It's as cold as I've ever been in my life. Okay? We were late in the fourth quarter, this game, and these are all general situations I'm giving you, but pretty accurate if you want to look them up on the internet. Somewhere late in the game, we were down 21-17, 17-14. It was a one-score football game, and we had taken the ball down inside the goal line, or inside the 10-yard line. We're in what's called the low red zone. Okay? Danny Gonzalez, inexperienced quarterback. All right? When we're in the low red zone, Danny, I had given him this Logan Zone speech like I've given every quarterback I've ever coached. Low red zone. How do we act? How do we behave? What is your responsibility as the quarterback? Low red zone. First down. Coach Logan calls a pass play. It's first down. You are operating with a caution light. It's a yellow light situation. If somebody's open, absolutely, put the ball on them. If it's tight, discernment. There's that word. If it's really tight, throw the ball away. Why? It's first down. Give Coach Logan another opportunity to create a situation for you to be successful. I've got a second down call here for you, okay? It's second down. I give you the call. The play unfolds. You are still operating with a caution light. Okay, this is a yellow light situation. We've got a little bit more time. I may have a timeout in my pocket. We've got 2 more downs. This is a 4-down situation, low red zone, no time on the clock left. Okay, we're going to win it or lose it. Let's go to third down. How do I behave? It's still a caution light situation. Let's get to 4th and goal, last play of the game, inside the 10-yard line. Hey, bro, you got a green light. I don't care if you're trying to put a BB through a keyhole. Let it rip. So there's some coaching for you. That's exactly the way that I spoke to my quarterbacks. And every situation, 2 weeks ago, East Carolina had a catastrophic situation, throwing an interception coming out of the end zone. I had an entire speech about how to behave as a quarterback, and me being your play caller, how you behave when I call pass plays coming out of the end zone. And it was robotic. There was no wiggle room left for you to begin improvising. There are places on the field where I encourage you to improvise, but not coming out and not going in. Whew. See, that's why I'm not coaching anymore, Philip. My blood pressure right now, the needle is spinning, as you can tell.
Yeah, I think the tennis court doesn't get you as worked up as this, so that's why you're playing tennis now, right, Coach?
Exactly. I need to go hit some forehands right after just that little discussion, but we got a lot more segments to go. Y'all stay with us. The phone number, 252-561-4263. Got a lot of good stuff to get to. Love talking to the fans. Give me a call.
Locals know, visitors discover, and everyone's welcome at Caribsea and Emerald Isle. Stop in for the handcrafted cocktails, stay for the live music and rooftop views at the Torpedo Lounge. Caribsea's menu features fresh seafood, hand-cut steaks, and the famous baked crab cakes locals swear by. Caribsea is the only spot on the island taking reservations with plenty of space for your crew. CaribseaRestaurant.com. For date night, family dinner, or a relaxed evening with friends, it's Caribsea and Emerald Isle.
Guten Tag, this is meine Auto. Und this is meine key. And I only trust one place with meine key. Meine key car care. They are so transparent with e-inspection, which shows photos of the problem and the fix. Meine key is my favorite part of America. And my second favorite part? The cowboys and the horses. Remember, I only trust meine key with meine key. Your one-stop shop for total car care.
At participating locations. Meine Key locations are independently owned and operated.
Hey folks, this is Coach Steve Logan for Walton Academy and Children's World Learning Centers. I've known the Walton family for years. In fact, I coached Chad and Blake Walton in Pee Wee years ago. Walton Academy is a K-8 private school in Greenville on Arlington Boulevard. They also operate 4 Children's World Learning Centers across the city. The Waltons believe school should be a place where kids feel inspired, supported, and excited to learn. I promise you that if the Waltons put their name on something, it's done with heart, purpose, and excellence.
Remember the days when you could go to your favorite butcher shop and get your pork chops or steaks cut just the way you like them? Well, you still can. Acre Station Meat Farm on Highway 32 in Pinetown, north of Washington, is Eastern Carolina's traditional butcher shop. Acre Station is where you can get your order cut the way you want it. The best sausage, bacon, and pork chops and steaks you'll ever taste. The short trip to Acre Station is worth the drive.
At Acre Station, you just get that good, friendly service you just can't find anymore.
I guarantee it's the best sausage and bacon you'll ever eat.
At Flatlands Jessup, experience isn't just a number, it's peace of mind. Our commercial lines division brings together over 150 years of combined insurance expertise, guiding Eastern North Carolina businesses like yours. We know your area, we know your challenges, we know your people, and we know how to deliver solutions that last. With Flatlands Jessup, you don't just get an insurance policy, you get a trusted local partner in growing your business. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
Hey folks, this is Coach Steve Logan. My friends at Dogwood State Bank are pirates, and they are changing the landscape of community banking. That term, community banking, is not just a catchy slogan for Dogwood State Bank. They really are redefining what it means to bank local. Big banks may want big business, but Dogwood State Bank wants your business no matter what the size. At Dogwood, your business is big business. Dogwood State Bank has offices in Greenville, Morehead City, Wilmington, Raleigh, Sanford, Fayetteville, and Charlotte.
Member FDIC. Golden Corral is turning up the heat at dinner with all-you-can-eat wings. Dive into 3 crave-worthy flavors: classic buffalo, sweet chili, and garlic parmesan. Hot and ready, alongside all your buffet favorites. Whether you're savoring the flavors in the dining room or grabbing wings to go, Golden Corral's got your dinner, your football viewing, and your tailgating covered. It's wings, it's game day, and it's all you can eat. Only at Golden Corral.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into Week 6 of the Logan Zone here on 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3. Philip Pilkington alongside the host of our show, the Coach Steve Logan. We will be taking your calls the rest of the show after this segment at 252-561-4263. The best caller will get an 8-piece tailgate special from Bojangles. However, who we have on the line now, sorry to break it to you, Mr. Zoki, you are not eligible for the Bojangles caller list, as we called you instead of you calling us. But we're now going to toss it over to Jim Zoki and Coach Steve Logan.
All right, back in the Logan Zone. Jim, you with us?
I am. I'm disappointed to hear that I don't have free dinner tonight because I actually was pretty hungry, so maybe next time.
You got go behind the scenes with Pilkington and get a free Bojangles dinner before this is over. You're earning it because let me tell you something. And again, I'm going to toss this to you. I want to start with the Panthers, and I want to get to East Carolina because I know you're doing both of them and doing a great job with it. But Jim, you know that it's becoming painfully clear now that 30-0 victory the Panthers had over the Atlanta Falcons 2 weeks ago was the biggest outlier in NFL history, maybe. Seriously, I'm talking in the history of the NFL. I became football conscious in like 1958, okay? And I began to watch football on TV on Sundays, and but never, ever 30-0, and then the next week to return to what we saw Sunday. Just give me, I'm the guy that needs some therapy now. You got to give me some therapy here. What in the wide world of sports is going on there?
That is a great question, Coach. And we were actually looking up. I never did find what the answer was of what's the biggest swing from
one week to the next. Like you said, winning by 30, losing by 29, so a 59-point swing. I've yet to hear the answer where that ranks, if not the highest of like point differential swings from one way to another, from one week to the next. And it wasn't like we were playing like the best team in the league. We were playing the 1-2 New England Patriots. And by the way,
Right.
they were at home. We're 3-16 at home over the last 19 games.
Right.
3-16. So it's like they
Right.
don't have a home field advantage anymore. And they're playing a second-year quarterback in Drake May. So Drake's very solid, very good player for where he is in his career. But that's not the kind of team you lose to. But the issue in this game, talk about an outlier, was the way they lost this one. Is that everything contributes: offense, defense, special teams. I've never seen, for a while anyway, for years, special teams be such the culprit in a game, because we scored that first touchdown, missed the extra point, missed another field goal. There's 4 points. We give up a punt return touchdown, 87-yarder. There's 7 points. And then they almost allow, if not for the punter making a tackle, another punt return touchdown, but it set up a 15-yard drive. So there's, again, you add that up, that's 18 points off the top of my head. And then our punt returner, Trevor Etienne, fields a punt at the 1 and falls down. You're never supposed to field a punt past, say, the 8-yard line. And so he fields it, catches it at the 1, no fair catch. We go 3 and out, set them up for another touchdown. You can make the case that 25 points were either directly or close to directly related to just special teams blunders.
I know. It was just, and I watched the game because suddenly, I'm the 30-0 game. I'm going, okay, I want to see. Well, I'll give you a Loganism. When we would win a football game, any place that I've been, whether it be as an offensive coordinator or head coach, I would grab my unit or the team if I was the head coach, and after a win, I would say to the team, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with it? Are we going to grow, or was it just like a potato chip? You just eat one and that's it. There's no nutritional value to it. When you get beat, I would always ask our football team, what are we going to do about it? Okay? And so you go back, well, the Panthers won a game. What are you going to do with it? Well, it's just so disappointing if I were Dave Canales and on that coaching staff to collectively, offense, defense, special teams, show up as professionals. That's the part that really blows you up. These guys are getting paid. And to show up and be that disconnected, that's disturbing from a DNA locker room team standpoint. And if I were addressing the Panthers, that's exactly what the team meeting would sound like. I would be ripping into them generally, not individually. They all know who they are. But I would have, I've spent years working with professional football players, and you have to choose your moments in which to really let it go in a negative fashion. But there does come a time it has to be done, and that may have set me off as a coach, that game. And this next week's going to be very, very interesting to see what the hell they do with it.
No, everything you said is spot on, and I will say I've seen more of this as far as the attitude in past years, and obviously I'm closer with the Panthers than any other team, but I kind of sense it from some other NFL teams that aren't, contenders for championships. There's a lot of just happy to be here in the NFL. It's a pretty good life. You get paid a good amount of money. They all want to win, but does it hurt them when they lose? I can remember after a loss with a team like we had 10 years ago. Thomas Davis was, inconsolable if you lost a game. I mean, the guys looked like they were going to, spit nails, punch you if you asked them a question. I mean, they took it hard. It meant something to them, and they were disgusted with the performance when it happened. There's a little bit of that, but not enough on the 53 that you want to see. And I sense that kind of being almost, again, I hate to generalize, a little bit generational with some of these young guys. It's not all of them. There's some that come right out of college and they've got it right away. And we have guys on this team that are like that. So it's not everybody, like you said. The ones that are the ones that you know. But we kind of went through that a couple years ago when we had Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess, give you examples of guys like that, high draft picks. They would be just as happy and in the same mood if they lost as if they won. And you don't want a team full of stat page fillers. You want guys that are pissed when you lose, and when you, as you said, when they win, that they could do something with that and kind of build upon that to make it a habit. And I'm just not seeing that obviously right now here. And a little bit of what I'm seeing with young guys in this league. I watch like a Shedeur Sanders up in Cleveland and places like this. I mean, they want it. They want to play, but do they want to fight for it? Do they want to earn their playing time? Does it mean something to them?
So, hey, guys, I do want to interject real quick and go back to what Jim was talking about at the very beginning. I was not able to Google and find the exact number, but I have found some bigger examples than the Carolina Panthers' 59-point differences. Most recently that I found was back in 2023. The Dolphins lost a game 48-20 following a win that was 70-20. So that there is a 78-point swing. And the only bigger one I could find, and this was just going off blowouts that I knew about, again, I just Googled these specifically. In 1940, the Washington Redskins defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 13-6. 1 week later, they lost to Papa Bear Hallis's Chicago Bears in the championship game 73-0. So that was an 80-point difference. So we didn't make the biggest one. Like I said, I don't know if this is the biggest one, but it's the biggest I could find. So that's my contribution to the show, boys.
That's a great contribution.
Well, there you go. That was outstanding. There's Google for you. I love it. But, that obviously, maybe the Panthers made at least the top 5. But, and Jim, I'll tell you this too. I'll just be a little bit war story here. When I broke into coaching, I coached under Jimmy Johnson at Oklahoma State, who went on, obviously, with the Cowboys and all of that, okay? After Jimmy Johnson, I worked with John Cooper, who went on to Ohio State and had an incredible career, never could beat Michigan, finally got him. And, I went to work for Bill Lewis at East Carolina, and I learned a lot about detail under Bill. Bill was a great detail guy, and I went, in the NFL, I worked under Raheem Morris. I worked under Jim Tomsula. So the point is, I have sat in 1 million team meetings. I have had to run 1 million team meetings as a head coach I had 2 years as a junior college head coach and 10 or 11, whatever it was, years at East Carolina. That's a lot of meetings to go in and address a group of men. And talking about what we're talking about players that, hurt after a loss or seem to be unaffected by a loss. One of the best talks I heard at the pro level came from Raheem Morris when I was working for him and with him at Tampa Bay. We had a game kind of like what you're, talking about, and, you could just tell the locker room wasn't hurt. And Raheem Morris came in on Monday, and we had a big team meeting, and he asked the players, what do you think your job is? What do you think your job is? And he made them answer. He went around the room. Kellen Winslow was in there, Carnell Cadillac Williams, the man that I coached, Ernest Graham, 2 great players, and, made them answer. What do you think your job is? And we heard every answer known to man. And finally, Raheem stopped everybody, and he said, I'm going to tell you what your job is. Your job is to protect your job. Because there's going to be some people begin losing jobs if we go play another game like that. And you know what? That resonated. What is your job in the NFL? It's to protect the job that you have. Just what you said a minute ago, Jim. It's a great life.
Mm-hmm.
But you go and give up 3 punt returns in one game, I got news for you. There's going to be some guys cut. And beyond that, the special teams coach will lose his job. And so, anyway, as you were speaking, some of that stuff came back to me. Working with professional football players, which, by the way, I'm going to transition you now to the East Carolina journey. Okay, they got an open date coming up this week, but part of this show that I've got planned around the calls and whatever else goes on around here, the thing that in talking with people come up to me all the time out in public, and they're always very nice. I have great conversations with people, but people are asking me about college football, and I've begun to stop everybody and say, you need to quit calling it college football. It's not. It's professional football that happens to be associated with whatever university you're interested in. This is all professional football now. Every bit of it is. It has all become transactional. And you can be a coach now like I used to be and be really worried about the development of the person that you're coaching and want him to become a great kid and all this other stuff and grow up and be a good man. And all of that's fine and good. But I got news for you. That's in the back seat of your car now. The front seat is exactly what I was just talking about. Your job now as the outside linebacker at East Carolina or the defensive tackle at the University of North Carolina is just to make it to Christmas without getting cut. And that's a matter of fact. And nobody
that's the only way you get players to buy in.
to.
You have to make it about them because, even with the NFL conversation, they talk about it's a player-led thing. And there are some players like Derek Brown, Chuba Hubbard on the Panthers, and with your college teams, same way. You need your leaders because it needs to be a player-led thing that they buy in. Not that they're being told you have to do this, but that they have to want to do it because it affects them. And then the team benefits from the fact that they do what they're supposed to do, their job correctly on the field. But, the point you make is a fantastic one because you've got to reach them at their level, which is the lens of themselves. And that's what they see things as because in many cases we've seen players go to 4 schools in 4 years. There was a kid last year when we played the Charlotte 49ers, Omega Blake, who came through East Carolina from South Carolina, played for Charlotte last year, and now I forget which one, Arkansas or whatever. He's with one of the SEC schools. He wasn't in 4 schools in 4 years. He was on 4 schools in 1 year, in 1 calendar year. So how do you get somebody's attention like that? He was the best receiver the Charlotte 49ers had last year.
Well, I can tell you how you get their attention. And I had a conversation with a good friend the other day, and he made this point. He said to me, he said, the thing I don't like, he was talking about his head coach of his university. I won't use a name, but he said, he just doesn't get the team fired up. That's what he said. And I said, whoa. I said, let me explain something to you. And let's call my friend Bill, okay? I said, Bill, I'm going to fire you up in the 21st century way. Ready? Hey, Bill, I paid you $150,000 to come here in August and sack the quarterback. We are 5 games into the season. You've sacked no one. So I'm going to motivate you. By the time Christmas gets here, you better have some sacks so you can get a raise, or with no sacks, I'm going to cut you. How's that for motivation? That's 21st century motivation at the collegiate level, in Steve Logan's opinion. And I promise you, if I was coaching in this environment, having been in the NFL and coming back into the collegiate environment right now, let me tell you something. Steve Logan would never raise his voice at a collegiate practice, ever. But I would call kids into my office privately and tell them exactly what I just told Bill. Okay? I'm going to cut you as fast as I can. Because here's what I know about the 21st century collegiate football player. You don't give a tinker's damn about the colors you're wearing, the school you're playing for, or the coach you happen to be playing for. You care about you, which is fine. But you better start caring about you a whole hell of a lot more than you are right now because you're playing like a dog. And there's your motivational speech for the day. And that's where we are.
Players are going up and players are going down those ladders. So it's like, guys that are at a certain level don't cut it. They have to drop down to play somewhere else. And other kids who are playing well at maybe a power group of 5 school can get up to a power 4 school with their abilities. And it's a constant shuffling. Nick Saban says it all the time when he's doing a pregame show on Saturdays now, is that the main reason he left college football is you can't develop relationships with them anymore. You can't develop the player. You can't develop the human. You don't have time to get to know the parents because they're just coming and going all the time. And that's sad because everyone's missing out on really the great purpose and the experience of being in collegiate football.
Well, it is, and I'm going to let you go with that. And I really appreciate you coming in. And, the East Carolina thing, we'll get to it at some point. But East Carolina has positioned themselves to maybe make a dent. This game coming up is going to be a big deal for both schools, Tulane and East Carolina. You agree?
It's going to be a big conference game. It's going to have huge implications on who's playing in the conference championship. And I'll tell you one thing, East Carolina's playing good ball, and they've left a lot on the table these past couple games, like the Army game, where they could be even better. If they could get that all put together, then they're really going to have something rolling, because this Pirates defense is phenomenal. We know how good the offense can be.
I agree with you. Jim, I appreciate you stopping in, man. We'll check with you next week, okay?
All right, Steve, thank you.
All right, thanks for coming on. All right. Well, let's take a break, and I'll take callers, or I've got a ton of material to get to here. And this transactional, transformational discussion about developing men or developing a team is really front and center at the University of North Carolina. Mike Lombardi released an email, and I'm going to get to it because there's a mess in Chapel Hill right now, and it's going to get straightened out, but it's messier than you ever dreamed. Give me a call, 252-561-4263.
The stifling heat of summer, the bitter cold of winter. What do they have in common? The extreme temperatures of both force your home's heating and cooling system to work overtime to keep you comfortable, and that can cost you a lot of money. Fortunately, your neighbors at Greenville Utilities have several ways you can save energy, and that means saving you money on your utility bills. Just go to guc.com and look for ways to save. That's guc.com.
It's Bo time. Fumbling the food on game day? Rookie move. But you know Bo can make your tailgate a winner, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Because the Carolina Legend has everything you're craving. We're talking crispy, juicy chicken loaded with real Southern flavor, fluffy, scratch-made buttermilk biscuits, and all the fixins to feed your whole crew faster than you can say touchdown. Be the MVP this season and let Bojangles do the cooking. Order your tailgate today. It's Bo time.
Anson Belt & Buckle offers a micro-adjustable, holeless belt, giving you the perfect fit every time. As an ECU alumni-owned business since 2009, Anson Belt is proud to be the official belt of East Carolina Athletics. Looking for a new belt for yourself or a special pirate? Visit AnsonBelt.com to see why over 30,000 customers have given their Anson Belt a 5-star review. With dozens of materials to choose from and thousands of possible combinations, you'll find the belt for every occasion, especially game day, at AnsonBelt.com.
Hey folks, Coach Logan here. Did you know that one of the top-rated insurance agencies in the country has been operating right here in our backyard since 1952? Snipes Insurance was just awarded a 2025 Best Practices designation, one of only 16 in North Carolina to receive this honor. Director of Benefits and Pirate alum Lewis Gale lives right here in Greenville. They also have a dedicated commercial and agricultural department. Check them out at snipesinsurance.com or email Lewis at snipesinsurance.com.
I remember this little girl, hearing her parents fighting, seeing them arguing, feeling every emotion of fear, sadness, even guilt. I remember her because she was me, and she still is. I'm Ashley Nicole Russell, and I know firsthand that divorce can have a lifelong impact on a child. And when attorneys put their own interests first, it only tears families further apart. That's why I grew up to become an attorney who focuses on common ground, peaceful divorce for the whole family. Contact us at michaelandrussell.com and anrlaw.com today.
Medlin Chevrolet is your trusted Ayden dealership. Medlin Chevrolet has made their home in Ayden, serving Pitt, Lenoir, and surrounding areas for 7 years. We're growing. Now under construction is our brand new service facility to serve you even better. Try our service department for your work trucks, fleet, and personal vehicles, and you'll be with us for life. Our staff are courteous, service-minded professionals that answer the phones themselves and walk you through your purchase or service journey. Find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle today at Medlin Chevrolet, Monday through Saturday, Highway 11, Ayden.
Fall is hands down the best time at Fish Street Hardware in downtown Greenville. We've got live music, trivia, singo, karaoke, and more to keep your nights lively. Plus, game days are back and better than ever with home and away tailgate parties as we cheer on the Pirates all season long. Make NFL Sunday your new Sunday fun day with brunch at 10, games all day, and doors open until 9. We're also extending our hours on Fridays and Saturdays, now open until 11, with live music from 8 to 11, including monthly full band shows. Stay connected on all social media and come see what all the buzz is about at Hardware this fall.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. on 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone as we carry on here on week 6 of the Logan Zone. We'd like to tell you about one of our title sponsors, Bill Clark Homes. Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU, and they continue to support year after year because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both Greenville area and the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions. We do have a few minutes left here in our first hour of the Logan Zone here in week 6, and we do have a caller on the line, so now we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan and our caller, William.
All right, back in the Logan Zone, and a lot of callers today. This is fun. This is great. William, you are in the Logan Zone, man. What you got?
Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
Great.
One of my good friends, former player of yours, Kevin Wiggins, we talk about your show all the time. I am a huge UNC fan, Rams Club. My son's been to Bat Boy at Carolina, go to a lot of stuff. Just how bad is it going to get up there?
Well, you have segued into a segment that I had prepared for this show. And did you, by any chance, being a UNC fan, did you happen to see the email that was sent out by the general manager of the University of North Carolina football program, Mike Lombardi? Did you happen to see that email?
I saw it in my inbox, Coach, but I have not had a chance to read it yet because, unfortunately, I was busy at work today and didn't get a chance to goof off.
Okay, well, here's the thing. You can go ahead and hang up, and I'm going to go ahead and do this segment right now about the University of North Carolina relative to the email that was sent from the general manager, Mike Lombardi, out to the University of North Carolina fan base, okay? And I'm going to answer, and this answers your question. Your question was, how bad is it? How bad is it going to get? Here we go. Ready? Mike Lombardi is the general manager for Bill Belichick at the University of North Carolina, and I'm going to go 100 miles an hour try to get through this thing in this segment. We got about 7-8 minutes now, okay? And he sent out an email that he set forth a plan, and it's labeled Trust the Process. Well, when you hear that, you know things are bad and you know it's going to get worse before it gets better, okay? This is where UNC is now, all right? And he talks about, basically he's admitting in a nice way that they have no talent on this football team, very little talent, very little. And I'll tell you why. He starts this email and he quotes Bill Walsh, okay? The past will show you how to achieve your goal. Unpleasant, it's really unpleasant looking at failure. So it's really unpleasant looking backwards and trying to figure out how things got this bad. All right, but it's necessary because that will give you a roadmap to correct the failings and attempt to right the ship and move forward in a way that gives you a chance to be successful in any business. This happens to be football. Listen to this. In the email, Mike Lombardi puts this out. The past 4 recruiting classes, so 2022, 23, 24, and 25. I'm going to say this again. The last 4 classes brought to the University of North Carolina presently has produced 8 starters. That is a magnificent failure at any level. Okay? In 2023, they signed 29 football players. 5 remain on the roster. 2 play. In 2024, they signed 31 football players at the University of North Carolina. 31. 3 are playing. In 2022, they signed 21 football players. 2 of the 21 currently remain on the roster. Okay? And you say, well, how did that happen? Well, this just last week or 2 weeks ago when I was watching the BYU Stanford game in preparation for the East Carolina BYU game, I made the comment on this radio show. I turned on the BYU game against Stanford, and they beat Stanford 29-0. I'm thinking, boy, BYU must be great. BYU's not great. Stanford is perfectly awful. You want to know why? For the same reason that the University of North Carolina is awful right now. When this entire NIL thing changed the college landscape, and I'm going to say this like Steve Logan feels, and I can't prove it, but I know. When this entire thing started in 2022, 2023, Stanford said, well, we're not going to do that. We're Stanford. And there was a whole bunch of that took place at Chapel Hill. Why, we're Chapel Hill. We're not going to go buy football players. Why, we're Chapel Hill. All the kids want to come to Chapel Hill. This gets back to the previous segment. I got news for you, sports fans. And it's right here in Mike Lombardi's letter to the UNC fan base. These players don't give a tinker's damn what color your uniform is anymore. They could care less about Carolina blue. They don't care about the red jerseys at North Carolina State. Where is it's that old show that Tom Cruise used to say, show me the money. It's show money. This is it's minor league professional football. And everybody is looking out for themselves first, second, and third. Get over it. Get used to it. And those that embrace this idea will come out winners. And I'm talking about administrations and coaches. Embrace the fact that Johnny could care less if he's playing for you or coach whoever halfway across the country. He's interested in his paycheck. Get over it, get used to it, and embrace it. If you embrace it, okay, like for instance, Texas Tech University, they embraced it. They had a good base. They figured out what was going on pretty quick, and they went out and they bought players out of that portal. You wouldn't believe. In Texas Tech right now, it looks like they're going to curb stomp the Big 12 conference. I got news for you. I've been to Lubbock, Texas. In the spring, summer, and fall, you want to know what you get? A 45-mile-an-hour southwest wind. It's like standing in a blast furnace. In the wintertime, you get a 45-mile-an-hour northeast wind, and the only thing that breaks the wind out there are barbed wire fences that keep the cattle in place. It's not a great place to be. But they have assembled a football team. Why? Because of the paychecks involved. And so the University of North Carolina, for 3 years while this industry shift, a tectonic shift took place, and Chapel Hill said, wow, we're Chapel Hill. Yep, you're Chapel Hill. And you are now in one of the most embarrassing situations that the football program's ever been in the history of the university. Deservedly so. People say, why not go to the portal? This is from Mike Lombardi in the email. Why not go to the portal? Here's why. It's too expensive. And it is. Now, SMU, and this goes back to Steve Logan again. A year ago, people laughing at SMU coming into the ACC without getting any ACC money. And I said on this show a year or two ago, I said, you people have no idea what you're laughing at. SMU, it took 2 billionaires on their board of trustees and looked up and they said, do you mean that we now can go buy the players above the table? They've been buying them below the table forever out in that part of the country. I know. I was born and raised there. And they said, yeah, you can do it above table now. SMU went out and bought the ACC championship last year. Sports fans, get a clue. Get a clue. Texas Tech, they've got oil money. It's a bottomless amount of money. And those billionaires went to Texas Tech on their board of trustees. They have a football team right now you do not want to play. It's Lubbock. It's not Miami. It's not Chapel Hill. It's on the western plains of Texas. It's harsh country. Not a place you really want to go. But guess what? Pay Steve Logan enough money, I'll move to Lubbock tonight. This is what we're dealing with, sports fans. And there's still a significant portion of the fan base and administrators that have no earthly idea what the hell's going on, which is astounding to me. It's astounding. You're bankrupt. You're going bankrupt at lightning speed, while everybody else around you has an inkling of what's going on, and they're going to show up like BYU did against Stanford and beat them 29-0. Stanford was having to call for a fair catch just to get the shotgun snapped. That's how bad Stanford's offensive line was. And there's more to this email that I can finish up with. We're going to take a break. Where are we? At the top of the hour. And I'm going to go on and on and on and on and try to wake somebody up around here. All right. We'll take a break. We'll take your phone calls, 252-531-42. 252-561-4263. And we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
When making decisions on your insurance coverages to protect your most valuable assets, First State Insurance Advisors is here to help. When you choose First State, you are working with people you can trust right here in Eastern North Carolina. Clark Stallings and his team provide knowledgeable advice with excellent service. Whether you're protecting your family with life insurance, your home and auto with personal coverage, or your business with reliable commercial insurance, First State Insurance Advisors has you covered. We would be honored to become your trusted choice agency.
I want to take a minute here to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. The football stadium, the baseball stadium, the Pirate Club, whatever it is, Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU. The reason they can do all of this is because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and in the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions.
Is your pharmacy fumbling when it comes to customer service, prescription fills, compounding, medical equipment, and enteral intravenous therapy? Perhaps it's time for you to allow HealthWise Pharmacy to score a touchdown in regards to your pharmaceutical needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, HealthWise Pharmacy puts you and your health first, offering top-of-the-line customer service, individual attention, and free prescription delivery to anywhere in Pitt County. HealthWise Pharmacy, 615B Memorial Drive in Greenville.
Are you unhappy with your smile? Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates can help you with state-of-the-art procedures to get your smile game day ready. Bowman Paget and Associates agree that dressing up like a pirate for game day is one thing, but smiling like one may not be the way you want to go. Schedule your appointment at bowmanpaget.com. That's bowmanpaget.com or call 252-752-1111. Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates.
We are the dentist of ECU. Hey!
Have you been to Jaggers on Memorial Drive yet? I'm a regular at Jaggers, and let me tell you, if you want fresh, not frozen, you need to come to Jaggers. Burgers, chicken sandwiches, all sorts of salads, and the shoestring fries. Oh, I love those shoestring fries. My favorite is the Berry Fresh Grilled Chicken Salad, one of the best salads I've ever had. My grandkids love the burgers and fries and the chicken tenders with the awesome honey mustard and ranch. Everything is fresh at Jaggers. They don't cut any corners. Jaggers on Memorial Drive in Greenville. Also now open in Fayetteville.
If you're concerned about your home security in Wilson and Rocky Mount or any part of Eastern North Carolina, High-Tech Communications has merged with SCI Technologies. This collaboration brings a variety of products and services that do more than keep your home or business safe. They differentiate themselves through their service and commitment to providing you the most reliable and cost-effective system for your individual location. Security systems can be installed for as little as $99. Google SCI Technologies for security, life safety, and home automation. It's SCI Technologies.
Hey, Pirate fans, take a trip, consolidate debt, update your home. Whatever you're planning, a personal loan up to $5,000 can help. Coach Logan here from my friends at National Finance Company. With NFC, you can get cash now. Loans up to $5,000. same-day cash, and fixed monthly payments. If you need to borrow money, trust the company that has been helping Carolinians for more than 50 years. National Finance Company. Apply at any of their 24 North Carolina locations or at nfcmoney.com.
This is WRHD, Farmville, Greenville. Powered by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com. That's ritchielaw.com.
And now, you just crossed over into the Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome into hour 2 of the Logan Zone here on week 6 of the Logan Zone here in 2025. We do have no more guests lined up the rest of the hour, so we'll be taking your calls at 252-561-4263, and the best caller will get an 8-piece tailgate from Bojangles. We do want to thank one of our other title sponsors, though, right now, and that is Greenville Utilities. Even though Greenville Utilities has a reliability rate of more than 99.99%, sometimes outages happen. Just like in football, you need to have a plan for what to do just in case. Right now, grab your cell phone, open the contacts list, and add GUC's emergency hotline as a contact. Here's the number to use, 1-855-767-2482. That's 855-SOS-2-GUC. Plan on using that instead of fumbling around for the number when the lights go out. Speaking of callers, we do currently have Richard on the line, so I'm going to toss it back over to Coach Logan and Richard.
All right, back in the Logan Zone. Here we go. And Richard, you are in the Logan Zone. What you got going, man?
Well, thank you, Coach. It sounds like you got thoroughly warmed up there. So I'm one of those people you refer to as having no earthly idea of what's going on. In this case, I'm particularly talking about Carolina football. My question is, Carolina's played 4 games this year.
Right.
The quarterbacking has seemed to struggle throughout the season. They've played 3 different quarterbacks, and they're all left-handed. Right. They have another quarterback who is one of the top-rated players in the state, came in as a freshman this year, Bryce Baker. I've seen him play. I've seen them all play. Bryce looks like he's got the tools to be a pretty good player. My question is, Bryce Baker is right-handed, and so if you run your season with left-handed quarterbacks and you want to transition to a right-handed quarterback, I've heard you talk about how difficult it is to change plays or to install plays during the season. What do you think it would be? What would it take to make that transition from a left-handed team to a right-handed team?
Richard, and I appreciate the question, and I'll get to it. So here's the thing: left-handed, right-handed quarterbacks. On a pro football field, the only left-handed quarterback I ever had was my second year in NFL Europe, Dave Ragone. Some of the Pirate fans might remember that name. He was a great quarterback, came out of Louisville, and he was with the St. Louis Rams at the time. It was the St. Louis Rams, not the L.A. Rams. But he was a third or fourth round draft pick, and he came to NFL Europe to, get better. And Dave came in and he was left-handed. And we were on a pro football field. So on a pro football field, you can call an entire football game because the hash marks are very narrow and the ball is relatively in the middle of the field almost all the time. It's not so critical that you flip the play left and right, particularly in 2x2 sets where you got 2 receivers to the right, 2 receivers to the left. And so Dave Ragone and I got along great, no problem. And the thing that we did have to do when we were putting that football team together, normally you would do a lot of research and make sure that you had a good left tackle to protect the blind side of the right-handed quarterback. When we put that team together, we had to flip that in our draft that year. We were drafting the players that the NFL put in the pool, and we made sure and had a great right tackle. Okay, somebody that could play the blind side to my left-handed quarterback, Dave Ragone. And so for Steve Logan, it was a bit of a mental gymnastics for me to call the game left-handed, so to speak. And we had to, like I said, we had to make sure that our right tackle was our dominant pass blocker as opposed to the left tackle. So the danger and the thing that I kind of sweated through that season, just what you're touching on. If Dave had gotten hurt, which he didn't, he became the NFL Europe Player of the Year for me, and we went to the World Bowl and got beat on the last play of the game. And as you can tell, it's been 20 years ago, and I've gotten over it. I can give you details of the whole game. But anyway, one of the things that I worried about was Dave getting hurt because our backup quarterback was right-handed, which is the case 99% of the time. Now, in Chapel Hill right now, the good news is when that Gio Lopez kid got hurt, the little left-hander from South Alabama, Max Johnson came in, and he's left-handed. So guess what? Life's good. But that also gets back to a Loganism. Your football team is only as good as your backup quarterback. You need to repeat that. Your football team is only as good as your backup quarterback, because when that starter gets banged up or hurt, which is one play away, and the backup comes in, you're going to find out just how good your football team is right there. And so, the situation in Chapel Hill, which I was speaking about, this letter that came out from Mike Lombardi, he goes on to talk about their vision moving forward. Trust the process. Their vision moving forward. He claims, and he's correct, this coming recruiting season for the University of North Carolina will, in effect, in actuality, be Bill Belichick's first class. Last year's class was just kind of a mishmash, grab at what you can, because he was hired December 23rd or something like that. There was no time left to recruit any high school football players. So this year, as we sit here, according to the email from Mike Lombardi, the University of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, they have 40, they're bringing in 40 high school football players. Now, for the East Carolina folks, I got news for you. That little tidbit, you need to think about that for a minute. If the University of North Carolina now, and they can, legally, they can bring in 40, more than 40. They can bring in, and they are bringing in 40 high school football players. There's going to be a number of those 40 high school football players that East Carolina may have had a chance at getting. Not this year. The University of North Carolina, they are committed to building their football team with high school players and then augmenting with the portal, which is the way to do things. This is exactly how it's done in the NFL. In the NFL, if you want to get fired really quick, here's how you do it. Draft 9 players, okay? You draft 9 players, first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth, whatever. And there's your little draft class, 9 of them. By year 3, if you look up and those 9 drafted players, only 1 or 2 of them is contributing, and you're the general manager running the draft, you're going to get fired. You're going to get fired. Those draft classes have got to grow and develop. You've got, I think, the first year's contract in the NFL is 3 years, maybe 4. So you've got those kids for 3 or 4 years. They better develop. They better develop and be good enough that you can trade them and get draft capital at the end of 3 to 4 years, or they're good enough you keep them and pay them. Well, this is exactly what's going to happen now at the collegiate level. For the good programs, this is the way you got to do it. The portal is there to augment and fill holes, but it's expensive. And I don't really think, this is another conversation about, let's say, the University of Alabama, okay? And, I'm not being dramatic and I'm not making stuff up. You people that are listening to this little podcast radio show that I'm doing right now in eastern North Carolina, you have no earthly idea what kind of money is available, and I'm talking willing money that's available in Oklahoma and Texas with these oil people that I grew up with. And I mentioned this to my producer, Philip Pilkington. I said to him a year ago, Philip, how old are you now, Philip? Right now, tell me. 30?
27.
27. Philip Pilkington grew up and had no idea. His vision of Oklahoma State University up until this last 2 years was that Oklahoma State University always won football games, and they were really good, and they were really powerful. That was not the case until T. Boone Pickens came in and dropped an unlimited amount of money on Oklahoma State University, and suddenly, bing, bang, boom, Oklahoma State University is and was and has been for 20 years a hell of a football program. Same thing with the University of Oregon. When I was growing up, the University of Oregon was just out there somewhere. They played pretty good Pac-10 football. And Phil Nike comes in and starts writing checks, and holy moly, we're competing for national championships. And the point I'm making about, I mentioned Alabama. I don't know if Alabama's got that kind of money. Maybe they do. But they better come up with it pretty quick. All right? Because this is where things are going. You better come up with the all-time sugar daddy to drop whatever money is necessary on your football program and your basketball program if you want to play big boy athletics. And that's just a matter of fact. And it's going to be interesting to watch Alabama and some of these people that have been on top for a long, long period of time. They're going to have to start writing checks, big checks. All right, we got another caller on the line. That would be Mike. Mike, you are in the Logan Zone. What you got going, man?
Hey, Coach. Man, I'm a big fan, man. I've been watching you, watching what you've been doing for a long time. Followed your career in the pros and in NFL Europe and all that good stuff. And just appreciate your honesty. I'll say that because you're not like a lot of other coaches. I got two questions for you. One's probably easy, and the other one's probably not so easy. The first one is, and I'll take the answer off the air. The 53-man roster. We'll see games. All of us football fans, we'll see games, and they'll say, "Well, they're low on offensive linemen today. They're low on DBs today." Why does the NFL have a 53-man roster and only suit 48 guys? Why are we paying?
Stop right there.
Why am I paying guys that can't help me on game day?
Wait, stop right there. Okay, Philip, this is the caller of the day. This guy wins the prize.
All right.
Okay? This is a great question. And Mike, you happen to be talking to maybe one of the very few guys that can answer that question. Why does the NFL have 53 men, but they only are allowed to suit up whatever it is these days? 46? Is that the number?
Yeah, it's 46.
So you want to know the answer? And Steve Logan, when I broke into the NFL, I went asking everybody, what the hell is this about? Why do we have 53, but we can only suit up 46? Why? And everybody, no, I got this answer, that. Finally, I got to the bottom of it. When the NFL was forming, George Halas running the Chicago Bears, and the NFL was being operated on a shoestring, okay? They had a roster of 53, but they only suited up 46 for monetary fiscal reasons. If you didn't suit up, your paycheck was reduced. The travel, the hotel room, the number of meals that you bought, on and on and on. Do you see what the answer is now? It simply was a financial deal that has, and guess what? We are now in a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they have held on to that crazy little rule. For whatever reason, it has survived. But I used to be at the San Francisco 49ers. We would be getting ready to play a football game. And here's what happens in a staff room on Saturday or Friday for a Sunday football game. Here's what goes on in the San Francisco 49er staff meeting. Okay, who are we going to designate active? And here goes another 3-hour staff meeting, because guess what? The special teams coach needs players to run down on the kickoff. Well, I got news for you. That $400 million wide receiver that's capable of running down on a kickoff, he ain't running down on a kickoff. So the special teams coach is fighting for bodies to run down on the kickoff and be able to operate the punt team, blah, blah, blah. Guess what the next argument is? The offensive line coach. He's got to have 5. We all know that. He wants 8. But you know how many he normally gets? 7. And then the entire Sunday afternoon football game, the offensive line coach in the NFL, with only 7 bodies available, you get a couple of guys hurt in a Sunday afternoon football game in the offensive line, and the offensive line coach will have a stroke because there's literally nobody to put in there. All right, let's go to the quarterbacks. You know how many quarterbacks Steve Logan wanted to carry into the football game? Active? 3. You know how many I got? 2. Do you know how many running backs I wanted to carry at Tampa Bay as the running back coach? I wanted 4 of them. We traveled to London. Here's a war story for you. Tampa Bay Buccaneers were traveling to Wembley, England, London, to play the New England Patriots. And I'm sitting in the staff meeting, and all of a sudden, here's all the arguments. Who are we going to have active? Who are we going to have inactive? You know how many players, how many running backs we ended up traveling to London with? How many running backs? 2. We went into the football game with 2 running backs. Do you want to know what happened on the 3rd play of the game? Ernest Graham, my veteran running back, blew his Achilles. I had a rookie by the name of LeGarrette Blount that had to play the whole game. LeGarrette Blount had never been in the huddle for a 3rd down play in his life because it required protections, all the protections. And so there we were, and there's Steve Logan. And I wore out 45 chalkboards on the sideline between series trying to get LeGarrette to understand who the hell to hit on 3rd down and 8 if it was a 4-week blitz. And your question is golden. And you just got the answer. You could have called 50,000 talk show guys and no one would have been able to give you that. But that's the answer. It's a holdover from when the NFL was run on a shoestring to save money. And kiss my fanny at 5th and Main, they're still doing it. And it's insane. Oh, see, my wife has got to go get me a glass of wine as soon as this show's over with, just for that question. It's upsetting. What's your second question, Mike?
Okay, the second question is, so I actually played at a HBCU, and I'm looking at some of these games where, like, you see a HBCU playing like a team from the SEC or something like that, occasional ACC team. How, if you were on the lower side of this matchup, how do you coach your team, your basic strategy to just not get totally embarrassed? Because Alabama State is not beating Auburn. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Right. How do you just not get embarrassed? Is it just call cover 3, put the best guy your best tackler back there, and just say, don't let get deep?
This is another great question. This is another great question, and I will answer right now. I didn't have, my journey at East Carolina was a huge part of the journey was David and Goliath. I was normally David. We had years to where we would play Syracuse, West Virginia, Miami, South Carolina, North Carolina State, and I got news for you. We never beat any of those schools in recruiting, but we were expected to compete against them, and we found a way to compete against them and win. Now, the difference back in the day, the difference between West Virginia and East Carolina, they had the advantage, but it was not huge. Now, when you talk about Alabama State going to Florida State, okay, it's ridiculous. Well, East Carolina playing Campbell. It's ridiculous. How do you handle that if you're the Campbell coach? I will tell you how, we had a couple of matchups. I remember we took a good football team into Neyland Stadium, University of Tennessee. I forget what year that was. Might have been 95, 96. We were good. But I knew the University of Tennessee had an NFL defensive front. All 4 down, all 3 linebackers. They were all headed straight to the NFL. I knew that. We knew that. Everybody knew that. And one of the things that we did as a staff, and you don't say this. Well, let me put it to you how I said this to our football team. I didn't think we could win the football game. Okay? Now, you can't say that to your football team. So one of the things I said to our football team on Sunday in preparation, I said, men, these guys are really good. Really good. And I showed them some film. And I said to them, let me tell you what. It's going to take everybody in this room contributing. Everybody in this room is going to have to contribute. So I'm going to prepare everybody, first and second team players. You're going to be inserted into this football game at certain times. Like our second defensive line, which wasn't very good. I was going to play our second running back. I was going to play some second unit offensive linemen. I was going to play a lot of those kids. Now, what was my thinking? My thinking is to get everybody's attention, number one. Number two, I didn't want to take my football team to the University of Tennessee and then come home and find out I didn't have anybody left to play the rest of the season because everybody was hurt. I was being pragmatic about it, but I had to present it in a way that I couldn't express my true intention. My true intention was to get the hell out of Knoxville without getting everybody killed. But to do that, I presented it in a positive way. Hey, guys, everybody's going to have to play. I'm going to have to get extraordinary effort from my second unit football players. And I gave them extra practice that week, which I normally wouldn't do. And you do that. On top of that, you have to have a game plan. This was routine at East Carolina. And we were playing up level, so to speak. I always tried to figure out a way to steal possessions. We had a surprise onside kick ready to go. We tried to have 2 fake punts ready to go. I wanted a fake field goal ready to go. All right? So you could steal a possession against Goliath, and little David throws a rock and hits him right in the temple, and you might come out with a victory. And that's, but there's a lot to that, and you had 2 great questions today. Those are your answers. All right, here comes Blues. We'll take a little break. We'll still take phone calls, 252-561-4263. There's some more to this University of North Carolina email that I want to get to, because really this email, it's really talking to North Carolina State, Duke, Wake, East Carolina, everybody. This is what you're dealing with as a fan. And by the way, if you're really an interested fan, write a check. That's a fan. Write the damn check. That's where you are in the 21st century. You're part of a pro football franchise. Even though it might be minor league, it is pro football. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
After selflessly serving in the military to protect our country, our heroes often bear the burden of debilitating neurological damage from traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress disorder. Every day, 18 veterans take their own lives. But there is hope. HBOT for Heroes is a nonprofit committed to making groundbreaking hyperbaric oxygen therapy available to veterans. Find out more at hbotforheroes.org. That's HBOT, the number 4, heroes.org. And look for HBOT for Heroes soon in Jacksonville near Camp Lejeune.
There have been many changes in the automotive world. At Phelps Chevrolet, the Phelps boys are here to take care of you. Mike, Daryl, and 4 of Mr. Phelps' grandsons, Wade, West, Allen, and Clay. You see, things at Phelps remain the same. The Phelps team has served Eastern North Carolina for over 50 years. We make your visit easy and fun. We are your neighbors, and that's what neighbors do. Phelps Chevrolet in Greenville. Like Mr. Phelps' great-granddaughter says, come in and get you one.
Fall is a great time for broadcast weed control. Let Eastern Turf Maintenance give your lawn the attention it needs and keep winter weeds out of your yard. When the Pirates come out to compete, they want to make sure their field is ready too. Eastern Turf Maintenance maintains the field for ECU, and they can do the same for you and your lawn. Contact Eastern Turf Maintenance today. Go to etmlawncare.com for all the information. That's ETM for Eastern Turf Maintenance, lawncare.com.
Your roof has seen its better days. During a really hard rain, you get a leak. Call a roofing contractor, and before they look at it, they say you need a new roof. Well, maybe you do, or maybe it can be repaired and last for a few more years. Whichever the case, Langley Roofing will give you an honest assessment. Whether it's commercial or residential, Langley Contracting will get the job done with their own employees. That's why you get a 25-year warranty. Easy number to remember, 252-214-ROOF. That's 214-ROOF. Langley Contracting, 214-ROOF.
At CCS Equipment Sales, we're proud to be your one-stop certified Takeuchi construction equipment dealer. Our knowledgeable staff is dedicated to building lasting relationships by providing solutions to your needs for new or used equipment, rentals, parts, and service. Our inventory includes Takeuchi excavators, track loaders, wheel loaders, along with a wide range of attachment options in Ayden, Angier, or Youngsville, or check us out online at ccsequipment.com. And remember, at CCS Equipment, we believe we succeed when you succeed.
Finding that missing shin guard, remembering whether it's a home or away game, getting the right kid to the right playing field on the right day. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple so you can worry about more important things, like not being that fan.
Oh, come on, Raf!
That's simple human sense.
Call Weatherly Insurance Agency at 756-9900 or online at weatherlyinsurance.com.
If you haven't been to Shaw's Barbecue in Williamston lately, you don't know what you're missing. Start the day off right with one of their sausage dogs, old-fashioned cheese biscuits, or any combination of breakfast sandwiches you can think of. For lunch or dinner, get crispy fried chicken, fresh seafood, or, of course, barbecue. You can get pulled, chopped, sliced, even G-Man chopped barbecue. What's G-Man chopped barbecue? Head to Shaw's and ask them. Shaw's Barbecue, West Boulevard in Williamston. Open daily except Sunday.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into Week 6 of the Logan Zone. We are about to enter the fourth quarter here in Week 6 of the Logan Zone. We're still taking your calls at 252-561-4263. We do want to thank our title sponsors, Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. And Coach Logan, we do want to tell you, during our last segment, we had a special caller. She did not want to come on the air, but Mrs. Bell called in. She was your son Nate's first grade teacher. And she wanted to say how much how big of a fan she was and how much she appreciates the show. So Mrs. Bell said hello.
Well, there you go. Tell her that she succeeded with my son Nate because he's not a bank robber. He hadn't killed anybody or anything yet. He's turned out to be a pretty good guy.
Like that. You're giving the credit to her. There you go. Teachers don't get enough credit sometimes.
Listen, coaching matters. So if she survived Nate, and my other son Vince, anybody that survived them, I'll tell you what, they've earned their keep. But anyway, well, I'm glad Miss Bell is listening, and I want to keep it entertaining for everybody. So there you go. That's another highlight for the show. All right, so We have an open line right now, 252-561-4263. I want to finish up on this email that came out from the University of North Carolina, Mike Lombardi, general manager for Bill Belichick. So, I finished the part where they're going to sign 40 football players this year. And so the idea, they're going to sign 40, but now he's intimating they have the money now to go shopping in the portal. So I'm still on record as telling you that Bill Belichick will succeed at the University of North Carolina. I think it was a shock to him and evidently a shock to everybody inside the program that's actually out there coaching the football players at the University of North Carolina, how bad they really are. And they are bad. They couldn't tackle a fence post in a 40-acre field. They'd miss the fence post. Swear to God they would. I've never seen anybody tackle that bad as a collective group. All right? The quarterback situation's a mess. I wouldn't be surprised if Max Johnson played the rest of the season. I don't think Gio Lopez brings anything to the table. And, I'm just being real blunt here. But to move on, I'm going to finish this email up. In the email, Mike Lombardi says, it's important to look at some of the great coaches at the collegiate level and their first year at the program they showed up. And he at first he points out Bill Belichick's first year as a head coach with the Cleveland Browns. They went 6-10, then they went 5-11, and in third year at Cleveland, Bill Belichick went to the playoffs. And then, of course, Cleveland did the Cleveland thing and fired the greatest coach in the history of the world. And off he went to New England to win 6 or 12 or 15 Super Bowls, whatever it was he did. And I don't want to hear, yeah, but he had Tom Brady. Damn right he had Tom Brady. Yeah. And look what he did with him. Okay, that's another fan cop-out that just rankles me upside down and backwards when somebody says that, oh, yeah, well, he had this guy. Well, yeah, he had him. Look what he did with him. So there's another little rant I could get started on. But he goes on. Mac Brown's first 2 years at the University of North Carolina, he was 2-20. I remember that. That's when I first came to East Carolina University. I'd never been in North Carolina before, never paid any attention to North Carolina football. If you said North Carolina to anybody out in Oklahoma, Texas, where I'm from, you thought about jump shots and layups. Nobody thought about football. But Mac Brown's first 2 years, 2-20. Nick Saban, first year, I've talked about this before. Nick Saban's first year at Alabama, 7-6, with a loss to the University of Louisiana Monroe. Jim Harbaugh, remember when Jim Harbaugh took over the Stanford program? Stanford hadn't won a football game in a million years. Jim Harbaugh came walking in. Coaching matters. His first year, 4-8. And we all know what happened after that. They go on runs of winning 10, 11, 12 football games a year at Stanford. Lou Holtz. There's my buddy Lou. First year at Notre Dame, 5-6. Kirk Ferentz. There's a name. There's a name I bet a lot of people listening to this show don't even know the name. Kirk Ferentz is the head coach at Iowa. He's one of the winningest college football coaches in the history of the sport. He's been at Iowa, I think, 20-something years. And his first year, he's 1-10. So the point is, in the email, it's kind of bracing the fan base up for, hey, this thing's a mess. And it's going to take time. And it's going to take a vision. And it's going to start with this first recruiting class that's coming in 2026. It's going to be a 40-man high school class, and then they're going to go to the portal and start plugging in some holes. Okay? Start plugging in some holes. So that's the forecast, but I found it so interesting. I'm doing a lot of talk about the University of North Carolina and their particular situation, but folks, this is your school I'm talking about. You're an inch away. Every school that happens to be listening to this program, you're the fans from Duke or North Carolina or North Carolina State or Wake Forest or whatever, South Carolina, whoever's listening. That's your program. That's how razor thin things are. Now, I want to transition and talk about the American Athletic Conference in particular. okay, which is, I spent a lot of time at East Carolina, and I know a large portion of this audience is East Carolina. This entire landscape, and I mentioned the ripple effect of the University of North Carolina signing 40 high school football players. Well, and I know a lot of them are going to come from the state of North Carolina. Well, this is going to impact East Carolina University, and I started this little diatribe off talking about the American Athletic Conference. The American Athletic Conference is in a unique little situation right now with the way all these dominoes have lined up. There are two conferences, the American Athletic Conference and the Mountain West. These two conferences have talented players that are good enough to play Power 4 level football. They've got some players. East Carolina's probably got a few right now that have already been identified by North Carolina State, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. And which Virginia Tech, there's another little situation coming up. They just dropped $229 million. They're getting ready to get real serious real quick. You don't think that's an attractive coaching position right now? As the coaching carousel starts up? You say, oh my God, Bill Belichick went to the University of North Carolina. Well, I got news for you. You better buckle up to see who Virginia Tech comes up with. That's going to be a top-tier program. But the point I'm making about that is back to what I was trying to talk about, which is the American Athletic Conference and the Mountain West Conference. Those two conferences are the ones that if you're coaching in those two conferences, you better be doing 98% of your time, you better be evaluating your roster, anticipating who's leaving, which is anybody that's good. Anybody that's really good is going to get bought quick. And you better have a constant treadmill of incoming football players through the portal. You're going to have to go down, if you're at East Carolina, you go down to Louisiana Tech. And you better get whoever they've got. And you better find the money to buy the replacement for the kid that just left you and went to South Carolina. And so, particularly the American Athletic Conference schools are going to get cherry-picked at a really violent rate because the American Athletic Conference, by and large, has the next best selection of talent to raid if you're a Power 4 school. And the same thing is true out in the Mountain West. Boise State, I promise you, they're going through this now like they've never, ever had to go through it before. So if your kids are going up the ladder, you better be catching somebody at South Carolina that's not getting the playing time that they want, and they better be coming to Tulane, Memphis, East Carolina, Florida International, whatever. That's the way the game's played now. And I've talked to a couple of I have two people that I talked to in the American Athletic Conference, and they are confirming everything I'm telling you. They said that it is just unbelievable trying to keep not your roster, a roster intact and competitive. It's going to be tough, and it's going to get tougher. All right, we're going to take a little break. We've got open lines. I'll take a call, 252-561-4263, and we will come back for another segment in Logan Zone. Stay tuned.
As fall approaches, two things come to mind: football and cooler weather. This is Rachel Davis with Advanced Mechanical Heating and Air. We wanted to thank you for the trust you have put in us this summer. Before you know it, cooler temperatures will arrive, signaling winter is on the way. Don't wait. Prepare now for colder temperatures by scheduling a tune-up. Give us a call today at 252-355-9191 or visit our website, advancedmechnc.com.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
Looking for outdoor storage? Maybe a she shed, man cave, tiny home, or greenhouse. If so, East Carolina Outdoor Products is your one-stop shop. East Carolina Outdoor Products has just opened 2 locations in Greenville, on Memorial Drive across from Ron Ayers and on Greenville Boulevard across from AccuLink. East Carolina Outdoor Products also custom builds right in your lot. East Carolina Outdoor Products is the only company in Eastern North Carolina that manufactures, delivers, and sells outdoor storage buildings. And they're pirates. 10 locations in Eastern North Carolina.
Your vehicle packs a load of safety features to protect you in an accident. At North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, it's our job to protect you just as well after an accident. With fast claim service from local agents, our auto coverage is a lot like an airbag. We hope you never need to use it, but we're right there and ready just in case you do. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, helping you is what we do best.
In Greenville, call 252-756-3165. That's 252-756-3165.
Jeff Stein here at Brownwood Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. Right now we have GMC 1500 Elevation 0.9% or $78.50 off. That truck also has $359 lease special. For Buick, we got the all new Enclave. It's beautiful. It's big. It can handle all of your luggage, kids, towing, anything. Brownwood Buick GMC, 4 brands, 3 generations, 2 rooftops, and 1 goal to make sure you leave a happy customer.
Meet the Kawasaki Nav, our first ever personal transportation vehicle designed for cruising the good life. The Kawasaki Nav 4E puts the fun in functional, with a premium, sporty design and comfort for the whole family. Fully electric and loaded with storage, modern tech and more. The Kawasaki Nav won't just wow you, it'll wow the neighbors. Be the first to nav the neighborhood. Visit Ron Ayers Motorsports, north of the airport on Memorial Drive, Greenville.
Greenville Utilities customers should be proud to know that their electric, natural gas, water, and wastewater utilities are owned by the community. That means decisions are made locally, not in some other city or state. It means the utilities are run in the best interest of the community, not to make profits for out-of-state shareholders. It means reliability is high while rates remain low. Greenville Utilities, safely providing reliable utility solutions for the Greenville region since 1905.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone. Here we are, final drive of the Logan Zone here on this Thursday, week 6 edition, first Thursday in October. We've got a couple callers on the line, and first is Jimmy, so we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan now. And Jimmy.
All right, Jimmy, you're in the Logan Zone. What you got, man?
Yeah, so Coach, I'm one of Henry's favorite Wolfpackers. I love your show. You're really wound up today. I'm going to send Henry some 5-hour energy for you next week. And tell me why these coaches aren't running the hero screen. We talked about it last year. Hadn't talked about it this year, so I'll hang up and listen to it.
The hero screens? You talking about the hero screens?
Touchdown all the way.
Well, there's a lot of ways to. Well, there's a lot of ways to define the hero screen. For me, the hero screen was a slow screen, the old school NFL slow screen to the running back out wide. The screen game in the 21st century, really in the last 6-8 years, what I call horizontal passing, throwing the bubble screens. Throwing the screen out. There's 2 kinds of things. When you throw the ball out wide, you have the wide receivers blocking the defensive backs, and you're throwing the ball to a receiver, and this becomes a portion of your run game now. And you're willing to gain 2 or 3 yards on a completed pass and if it breaks, and you feel good. Everything feels good. The other type of the screen that has become a big element is what they call, we used to call it a tunnel screen, where you've got the wide receiver actually working back toward the quarterback, and you're releasing your offensive lineman now, and you're trying to get your running back up inside what you would call the tunnel. And all of these ideas have got design. You're getting me off into some philosophy of football. Football plays, you can put them in two categories. You put them into design or deception. Okay, so the tunnel screen, for instance, where the wide receiver's working down the line of scrimmage, there's design in this because your offensive line they're taught to let their rusher go and then go block a linebacker down the field. And everything's drawn up on your little play sheet, who's supposed to hit who. But it also has deception involved because your offensive line is pretending to pass set and get the defensive lineman rushing to the quarterback and trying to convince them they're going to get a sack. And suddenly you release the football, and this is what I call a muddy throw, because you've got to be very creative with your arm angle and release point of the football because you're going to have free rushers in your face on the tunnel screen. But when you get to talking about the screens, those things are vital parts of game plans at the NFL level, and at the collegiate level, they've become almost, it seems like at the collegiate level, the ball is being thrown sideways more than it is downfield, which is a criticism I have. You've heard me talk about the spread offenses of the day. The thing that's not being accentuated enough, in my opinion, is the intermediate passing game. I think it's there for the picking if somebody would research it and get back to some old West Coast principles. And I've seen some of that begin to blossom, okay? But this, throwing the ball horizontally, particularly against man-to-man coverage, is, I call it kind of a hand grenade. It's going to go off. The shrapnel's going to go God knows where. You may gain 60. You may lose 4 yards on a completed pass, which, every play caller has got to assess, the risk management, the risk-reward ratio, and decide if he wants to keep doing it. And some people may be having great success with it, and some not so much. But the screen game it's vital. You got to have it. And the more diverse that you can make it, the better off you're going to be. I still think there's a great place in the collegiate game for the slow screen that the pros still use, along with the various tunnel screens that I think are more effective than the bubble screens. The bubble screens are very simple, high completion rate, and that's why you see the college teams really feature those. It's just, like I say, they're very, very simple, but they're not that hard to defend, quite honestly. So anyway, I could go on and on about that. So we got another caller on the line. I believe that would be Tim. Tim, you still with us?
Yes, Coach.
All right. You're in the Logan Zone, man. What you got?
Yes, Coach Logan. Proud graduate of East Carolina, class of 1999, which happened to be the Hurricane Floyd years. A couple questions for you. Somebody I went to school with, some people, could you, when you talked about recruiting, could you tell me a little bit about your prototypical wide receiver and drawing a comparison between, say, Larry Shannon and Keith Stokes and Marcellus Harris?
Yes.
And my second question is, I was at the Miami game, the ECU Miami game, and it was the most exciting football game I've witnessed in person, period. Can you please briefly describe what the talk was in the locker room to turn that game around? And love your show, and gosh, I just so much missed Jeff Carr, Pernell Griffin, Antoine Yelverton, and such. So I appreciate it, Coach. I can go ahead and hang up. Okay.
Well, I appreciate those are good questions. And what what Tim was asking about wide receivers, okay, what are you doing if you're in the NFL and you're building your receiving core, or, the receiving cores that I built at East Carolina, they all ideally had a particular function, okay? So he mentioned 3 football players, coincidentally, that all 3 of them fulfilled the roles that I had in my offense at a high level. My ex-receiver, so let's just say, I wish I had a chalkboard once again. My ex-receiver, if you come out of the huddle and you got 2 receivers to the right and two receivers to the left, your tight end and flanker, your Z, are to the right, and to the left you have an X-receiver, the widest receiver, and a slot receiver. That football player carried the F designation for me. He was our F. So you got X and F to the left, Y and Z to the right. The X receiver for me was built to be a red zone target. You got to have somebody that's a big physical guy when you get down in the low red zone and you're trying to find somebody to throw the football to in a congested area. Ideally, you want that guy to be 6'4" plus. Well, once upon a time, we had a young man named Larry Shannon that was 6'6", and you could perform what's called a top shelf back line throw to Larry Shannon. I didn't care if he was covered or not. You could throw, and this was the terminology and a technique you teach a quarterback. It's called a top shelf end line or back line throw. So you run an end cut on the end line. We used to call it the baseline. And whether or not Larry Shannon was covered or not, you put the ball up on the top shelf, 1 inch above the fingertip of the defender that's in front of Larry Shannon, and you got a chance to throw a touchdown pass. The point being, low red zone is a real congested area when people choose to play coverage. There's not a lot of places to go with the football. So your X receiver is built to operate in the low red zone and win that battle. He's also out in the open field, a guy that you would like to get matched up on what we call KYP, know your personnel. We used to try to find the corner that was not what you call the best one. We called him the fish, the worst corner on the opponent's team, and we would manipulate our formations around and try to get our X receiver, particularly if we had a Larry Shannon type 6'6" receiver, and match it up on that guy and throw your takeoff routes in that fashion. That was in the game plan. KYP, okay, get him matched up and use that height advantage. Okay, that's enough about the X receiver. Let's move inside to what we call the slot receiver, or what was my F receiver, the slot. Who is this guy, and what's the request? What are we building? The slot receiver has got to be an expert at running option routes, because I'm going to match him up on nickel backs, okay, the 5th defensive back that comes in to guard the slot receiver, or back in the old days, sometimes you could get that slot receiver matched up on a will linebacker, which was like picking a chicken, because will linebackers could not cover a good slot receiver on an option route. So your slot receiver is built to do what? He wants to be an option route runner, okay? The speed of the slot receiver, top end speed, was not a critical discussion with me. What was critical in the discussion relative to the attributes of a slot receiver were quickness in and out of the cut. And you mentioned a young man that played for us, Keith Stokes, that went on to the CFL and had a good career. Keith Stokes' straight line 40-yard dash, was at best a 4.6, 4.55, something like that. But his change of direction, we used to have a drill, or the NFL still uses it. It's called a 5-10-5 measurement. You run to the right 5 yards, back to the left 10 yards, and back to the right 5 yards, and it's called a 5-10-5 drill. And Keith Stokes' 5-10-5 was probably about 4.2, as opposed to being a straight line 4.55 type kid. His in and out ability to cut and get open on option routes and manipulate and work the middle of the field against underneath coverage was outstanding. We had another little player at East Carolina named Deion Johnson. I had a couple of kids in NFL Europe that were built, and I drafted them exactly the same way. And they had great seasons for me in NFL Europe, operating and bringing those attributes to the table. Okay? So outside, we got the big, tall, red zone target, also our takeoff route guy. Inside, you've got an option route runner, middle of the field worker, Okay? Think Julian Edelman with the New England Patriots. Danny Amendola. Those guys. Okay? Deion Branch. There's old school Patriots right there. Okay? When I went to the Patriots for a week and studying their systems, Deion Branch was out there running option routes, and holy moly, I'd have given anything to have had him on my football team. He came from the University of Louisville, and he had a great career as an option out runner in the slot. Okay, now you mentioned another football player for me, a kid named Marcellus Harris from the Tidewater. Marcellus was a great Z receiver for me. He played in the slot and the Z, or to the right. The flanker, has got to be a really good route runner in the outside third of your football field. Okay? He needs to have enough ability to threaten a corner deep and then snap off, a deep comeback route, deep curl routes, deep in cuts, and operate in that outside third of the field against one-on-one coverage, which is what people have come to know as cover three, a single high safety. So, there's a kind of a run-of-the-mill description of how you want to build your wide receiving corps and some of the successes that we had doing that at East Carolina. But I had successes certainly in NFL Europe. We put together some dynamite receiving crews and won a lot of football games. Same thing in the NFL. But there, you run into money situations. You can't just get who you want. So anyway, that's another Logan Zone for you. We'll be back. We're coming on next Thursday, Philip, or next Wednesday?
It'll be next Wednesday. It's Thursday night game.
All right. Y'all tune in next Wednesday, and I'll have another program set and ready to go for you. Appreciate everybody that called in.